What's going on, guys? Wanted to make just a quick video answering somebody's question from yesterday, and this was from Cherry, one of my Facebook friends, and she had asked me. I had made a quote. Let me start with the quote. I started saying, allies are meant to be good investments. Rituals allow this connection to remain so by number one, driving overlap between the individuals to the mission, as in, how can I be a better friend, partner, coworker, or brother? Or number two, adjusting for the inevitable change in the ecosystem, as in, is this still a good idea? If so, what changes do we need to make to keep it so? So, discussion followed that, and she had asked a question, and I asked her, well, she had made a comment, and I had asked Cherry to put it in question format. So I made sure that when I answered her, it was specific to what she was actually asking about. So she says, and this I'm quoting Cherry here, she says, I think it's two moral questions. Society feigns or preaches we should do favors without expecting anything in return. In terms of business colleagues and alliances, should we enrich people without expecting help in return, or should we always strive to return favors to preserve and continue a healthy alliance? So I would say that it's a little bit of a false dichotomy, right? There's a little bit more nuance there, and I already have bugs fucking with me, so I'm going to move. There's a little bit more nuance to just the, you know, should we never return favors or should we always return favors? And I think when we get down to it, what ends up happening is we have to ask ourselves, well, what is it that we have committed to? What has been committed to us? When we made a commitment, what was the expectation of what that commitment would return to us? In other words, if somebody asks me to, hey, can I borrow 10 grand? I want to start this business. And I say, well, what do you anticipate being the return on me giving you that $10,000? They're going to have an opinion. And the opinion is based on calculations, and I'm going to make a decision based on what my reaction to that whole thing is. Now, if they don't make good on that, then I have the means, the grounds by which to sort of react in a way that, they would probably not get that type of investment from me again. However, if somebody were to do something for me, let's say, somebody, you know, comes and washes my car. My neighbor comes over one day and he washes my car. And I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? How you doing? Hey, just wanted to wash your car. At no point would it be appropriate for him to sit there looking out of his window, maybe months from now, years from now, going, man, I wonder when that guy's going to come and wash my fucking car. So one of the sayings that I have, and I put it in Tribalnomics, is loyalty is an investment, not a debt. And I think that sums up the sort of criteria that we should set when building a relationship with this dynamic of, should I always return favors? Should I never return favors? And and what does that say for my reliability or even approachability as an ally? What does it say about me being an ally to my established alliances? And when we say loyalty is an investment, not a debt, what we're saying is, if I'm going to be loyal to somebody, it's because being loyal to them, whatever that requires, is a good idea. Hence, a good investment. Meaning, I'm going to do this because the consequence, the result of acting this way, is going to give me something that I want. Now, if we were to say that, well, because I did this good deed for somebody, they should do a good deed for me, well, now we're talking about a debt. And in order for there to be a debt, there needs to be some sort of understood, maybe even pre-designed agreement. So the commitment was more formalized in some capacity. Now, it could be, if we're talking, law, it's like, yeah, it's a contract. I wrote it up, he wrote it up, we wrote it up, we both signed it, and we're good to go. I have a lease, I have a mortgage, I have car payments, I have these things. So if I don't follow my end of the bargain, so to speak, well, yeah, there's going to be a consequence, and that is sort of predetermined and listed in that formal agreement. However, if I help my buddy move, and a month down the line, I ask him to help me move, and he says no, Well, yeah, there is a sort of expectation in the alliance that we have that that type of favor, to use Cherry's language, would be reciprocated. And now, if it isn't, I would have to assess what my relationship with the alliance is. Is this alliance something that I want to maintain and continue to invest resources in? Something as seemingly trivial as helping me move when I helped him move, he's not even willing to do. Or it could be I say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't expect this from him. You know, for me, helping somebody move is not a big deal. For him, maybe it's a huge deal. And if that's the case, maybe I shouldn't have these expectations placed upon him, right? So I'm going to open this again. So when we're looking at the dynamics between, well, what is it that I'm doing for this person? Why is it that I expect something at all? And if I'm just doing it in order to receive something in return, or even worse, something sort of predetermined in return, I should have the integrity, the authenticity to sort of articulate that to the person and have him agree to reciprocate in whatever way that we determined before I invest anything in him, right? So I just want to read this again. And I have a million phones, so I'm filming on one phone, I'm reading on another phone. So the last thing that Cherry says here, I think people are morally kidding themselves to think that a relationship won't be damaged if a favor is not returned when the opportunity presents itself. It's an unpopular opinion, but I guess it seems selfish to others, but to me it's math. And I think what's reflected in there, and I agree with that sentiment, what's reflected there, though, is I think society's lack of understanding of what these dynamics are about. Shameless plug for TRIBALNOMICS, which was my sort of take on exactly, what people need to hear and need to be exposed to in terms of how we even label and articulate what these dynamics are, let alone start to try to design them, congruently to what our mission is, right? But I think when people are sold this idea of universal morality, when people are sold this idea of, well, this is always the right thing to do, this is always the wrong thing to do, this is never the right, whatever, slant you put on it. I think when people are sold that, what winds up happening, and this has been happening for some time now at a societal level, they lose the tools to be able to articulate and deduce where these lines are. When is, doing a favor for somebody, a good idea? When is it a bad idea? What are these good and bad decisions even based on? I think that's what people lack these days. And to me, it comes down to, the system, I call the system of my understanding of it TRIBALNOMICS, but basically it's understanding who you are not, who your tribe is, who your tribe is not, and then looking at the resources you have, the very finite resources you have, and sort of allocating them efficiently to sort of preserve those identities, the identity of self and the identity of the people that you're connected to that you would consider to be your tribe. That also goes for any other alliance you have. I have students at my school. I have coaching students in my coaching program. These individuals and myself have an agreement, an alliance, and I need to make sure that I weigh what my expectation in that alliance is with every decision that affects that alliance. All right, so hope that makes sense. But great question, Cherry, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer it. If you guys have any questions on TRIBALNOMICS, I like making these short videos. I make them a lot for coaching students. I don't often make them for social media, but why not? I got all this fancy fucking camera gear. But aside from that, if you are watching this and you are not yet on my email list, go to masterchim.com. I write an email every morning. I write it in the morning too. It's not like every once in a while, if I'm going away, I'll write a couple of days in advance. But for the most part, it's the first ritual that I have in the morning, and it's completely free. And you can go to masterchim.com, put your email there, and receive it tomorrow. Appreciate you guys.